Alright, so everybody knows nowadays what virtualization is about, and you might have already heard about VirtualBox, the free open source virtualization software which you can run in any type of machine, whether Windows or Linux or any of those machines.
I'm Kumar and welcome to my channel on tech and tutorials.
So virtualization actually allows an extra or a new or another operating system with all of its softwares to run in a special environment on top of the existing operating system. That special environment is created by VirtualBox. With virtualization, we can have multiple OS in our same PC or laptop. We will be actually having a virtual OS on top of the existing OS, whatever is running in the system, and we will be using the VirtualBox software to run the virtual OS. So VirtualBox is actually a freely available open source software we can use for our needs. You can use it for your projects and all to try out new softwares or try out new OSs. It's also one of the best and one of the most popular for starting to learn virtualization and for trying out new tools or new OSs, whichever is like Linux, Ubuntu, and CentOS or Windows. Even Windows, you can install it as a virtual OS on top of VirtualBox. In this video, we will install VirtualBox in our Windows 10 operating system. So in your favorite browser, you can search for VirtualBox and you'll get the link virtualbox.org, the first organic link in your search, Google search, and you can go to the virtualbox.org, and this is the home page of the VirtualBox, from where you can download. This is now managed by Oracle. Earlier VirtualBox was a separate company, but Oracle took over the VirtualBox. So VirtualBox actually runs on Linux, Windows, Macintosh, or Solaris OS system. And once in this home page, you can go to the downloads, and from the downloads you have the VirtualBox platform and Windows host, OS X, Linux, and Solaris host. These are the links for the installer which we are supposed to download. You can click this Windows host link, and you can see the link in the bottom. You can click this link to download and it will start the download in the background. So I have already downloaded the exe for the VirtualBox installation and I put it in my desktop. Then I double click on this exe file which will actually start the installation. Then this is the setup dialog which start up, and you can click on next. From here you have an option of selecting what you want and all, just what libraries and all you want with this installation, and you can just skip the defaults one. Mostly the default ones are actually sufficient to work with VirtualBox. And if you see here that this requires only like 216 MB, just note that this size is only for the VirtualBox application. If we are going to install the virtual OS like Ubuntu or CentOS, then that virtual OS has its own disk space requirements and file sizes, which is different from this VirtualBox application. Okay, click on next. If you want to change the path of your installation, you can change it, browse and change it. I just prefer to keep it to the defaults, program file, Oracle, VirtualBox, and then you click on next, and then you have an option of selecting the menu items and all. Create start menu items, create a shortcut on the desktop. I prefer to keep my desktop clean, so I'll just uncheck this. Create a shortcut in the quick launch bar. Also, I don't want to create a quick launch shortcut in the quick launch bar, so I uncheck this. It's based on personal preferences. If you want, you can keep all these options selected. Then we click on next, and then there is a warning saying that it's going to do some changes to my networking for my system. Installing Oracle VirtualBox networking feature will reset your network connection and temporarily disconnect you from the network. Proceed with the installation now. So it's going to shut down my internet connection, and it's going to change some of the network configurations which actually the VirtualBox needs to do. It has to install some networking components of its own. We just have to say yes here to continue with the installation, and click install to begin the installation. And I click on install, and the installation starts. So once the installation starts, you are going to get a pop-up dialog asking us to allow this app to make changes to our device, and we are supposed to click yes there, and this would require administrative privileges to moving ahead. If you don't have administrative privileges in your operating system, then probably you would need to ask somebody who has admin access to continue with the installation. Next, we would be given an option to install some other components which the VirtualBox needs. So would you like to install this device software Oracle Corporation Universal Serial Bus? We just need to click on install Always Trust software from Oracle Corporation. Click on install in this one to move ahead with the installation. Okay, so that was pretty fast and the installation is now completed. So I have an option of clicking on finish and then start Oracle VM after installation. So I'll click on finish here, and so that my VirtualBox also starts up. So this is the VirtualBox console once the installation is done. And from here we can actually add new operating system into the VirtualBox by clicking on this new item. So if you see here, you can provide the name and then the type of OS which you want to install, and you can see there are a lot of options: Linux, Solaris, Windows, and then other type of Linux as well. I will just select Linux just to see that what are the different versions of Linux which you can try out with. See, there are a lot of other options in here in this scroll down. What type of Linux, Ubuntu or CentOS or Red Hat Linux. So for creating a new OS on top of this VirtualBox, what you need to do is you just need to, for example, I am trying to create a Ubuntu, the most popular Linux system, and once you start typing Ubuntu here, VirtualBox is quite smart enough to tell us that it's a Linux, and it automatically selects the Ubuntu 64-bit in this drop down. So the other point is you will need the ISO images from the sites. For example, if you want to install Ubuntu OS, you can go to the Ubuntu download, and then you can actually go to the first link here and you can download the Ubuntu ISO images. So if I go to this download link, your download will start automatically, and then it starts to download. It's a quite big 2.6 gig, and actually I will just cancel this download. So you can download the ISO from the Ubuntu site, and this Ubuntu is quite big. So what we can do is we can take the Linux Mint. Ubuntu is quite big, so what we do is we can download the Linux Mint, which is actually a smaller version of the Ubuntu, and then you can go to the download, and actually you can download the latest version of this Linux Mint, which is actually a smaller size Ubuntu operating system. Also, if you want to install CentOS and all, you can also download those CentOS. Go to the CentOS site and you can go to downloads, and you can take these ISOs from here. You can go to these links and you can get the ISO, and then you can install the OS within this VirtualBox. The other thing to note here is for running a virtual machine, we need to enable the BIOS level virtualization. Actually, it's quite simple to enable the BIOS virtualization. Go to Google and search for enable BIOS virtualization Windows 10, and let's see what options it gave us. So let's go to the first link here. If you are not enabling the virtualization, you would be getting all these errors and all while installing your virtual machine or virtual OS. You can see a lot of options here for Acer systems. If your laptop or PC is an Acer based system, how you can go inside your BIOS settings and how to enable the virtualization technology. So Dell, HP, Lenovo, and Sony, all the machine details are here. And if this doesn't help you, then probably you can talk with somebody in your IT team to enable it for you. But it's pretty simple. You can get all these documents in Google in internet. So that's all in this session. We have seen how to install Oracle VirtualBox in our Windows 10 operating system, which was like pretty straightforward. And now that we have our VirtualBox installed, we can go ahead and download the ISO images from Ubuntu or Linux Mint or CentOS or any other type of OSs which you want to install or try out, or install new softwares and all and try out. You can go ahead and do that. Thank you, and hope this video was helpful to you. Thanks, and see you in the next video.